talk about a kind of compendium of show business and royalty. Who could eschew such values? Oh, well, I know. It's showbiz duo, the gruesome twosome, Harry and Meghan. Their Netflix deal, they lost their Spotify deal, of course, because all that amounted to was one small series called Archetypes, hosted by Meghan. Harry never got round to doing anything for Spotify, so Spotify kind of thought, well, this isn't worth $20 million, and they cancelled the deal. We also hear that Netflix are less than thrilled with the output of this unproductive couple. They don't seem to do a great deal for the huge contracts that they get, but Netflix have their doubts about the future of their deal with Harry and Meghan. But Harry and Meghan, as if all of that wasn't bad enough, are suffering terrible problems because of the Hollywood actors' strike. So they had a number of projects in the pipeline that they can't get off the ground because there's no one around to work in Hollywood because of the actors' strike. Let's talk to entertainment journalist, correspondent of Showbiz Extraordinaire, Caroline Frost. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, Kevin.
Nice to have you on board again. It's been a while.
Thank you.
Now, what do you make of this? I mean, we've talked. Lots of people have discussed ad infinitum the kind of basic problems of Harry and Meghan. You know, that they decided they were producers of television dramas, of documentaries, you know, big-time producers. Well, it actually isn't a job you can just walk into, and they found it kind of difficult. Their output has been limited so far, and that's to put it kindly. But now, of course, like so many producers in Hollywood, they're suffering because of the actors' strike. So what was a problem for them in terms of their future in show business is turning into a bit of a nightmare. Not good days for the couple over there in Montecito.
For sure, it's yet another mountain to climb. I mean, goodness me, the timing is everything, isn't it? What we had was their big Megxit departure for pastures golden a few short years ago. And then, of course, I mean, that was when their currency, their celebrity currency, their still royal currency was at its absolute peak. And then, of course, the world just closed for business, and they found themselves stranded miles away from Harry's family, but also nobody making anything. So they survived that. And I have to say, we have to mention that they haven't made much stuff, but what they have produced has been headline-grabbing, record-breaking. Harry's memoir sold more than any other non-fiction book in its first week, and yet I know it's left a bit of a sour taste in many readers' mouths. But
it was a good read, Caroline. I mean, you know, I always said that.
Sure.
Whatever you think of the content, it was pretty compelling.
It was a good read.
And so was their Netflix series.
Netflix did the business. But yes, I mean, producers, it's always about what more have you got in the can? How can we make more money out of you? And so far, I think there was a thing about leaders, Living to Lead, a documentary that really didn't strike with quite the same purchase as the intimate dirty washing of their own family baggage brought to the fore. And now we have, I mean, I think that there's an Invictus documentary in the works, which of course is Harry's greatest claim to any kind of praise and approval. He was tireless. And I think that when that does come out, what good standing he still has in this country, if any, will be restored, and certainly the Americans will lap that up. A handsome young prince doing so much good for people that he feels very, very connected to. So there's good stuff down the pipe, but at the moment they, like everyone else, are sitting on their hands and just hoping that a bunch of people who earn a lot less than they do. We should also remind ourselves there's a reason this strike is happening. Not everybody has George Clooney's tequila millions to prop them up. You know, the whole ecosystem in Hollywood is hand to mouth much of the time, and people have had enough, particularly in this era of streaming. Where are the residuals? It's all the studio heads. Disney aren't worried about their studio. Their bosses are fine. It's all the little people that are really suffering, and that's why this strike is happening. But of course, Harry and Meghan are not the little people, but they are doing as little as the little people because there's nothing they can do. So once again, just as lockdown struck just at the worst time possible for them, this has happened at the worst time possible for them as well.
Well, they're great ones for blaming everyone else for all of their problems. You know, it's not my fault.
Oh, yes.
However, you're right. I hadn't really thought about this. They have had some terrific bad luck, haven't they? The lockdowns were terrible for everyone, particularly if you're trying to launch a business. So that was dreadful for them. And as you say, now that actually they really would like to get their Netflix deal flourishing, they can't because of this strike. However, that said, we do hear that Netflix, shall we say, are heading in the same direction as Spotify did. They're less than thrilled with this not spectacularly productive couple.
Well, isn't it bad timing? Because, of course, the one thing that all of those people can do in Hollywood right now is make podcasts. So it's just it's the spin of the wheel, the throw of the dice. They got it the wrong way around. If they'd held on to their Spotify deal and lost their Netflix deal, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But, you know, that's secret of everything, right? Timing.
Well, there was a Spotify executive who called them bleeping grifters.
Yes.
And pointed out, I would suggest arguably accurately, that unless this too are pouring a bucket over the royal family, moaning about the way they're treated by King Charles and the rest of the family, moaning about alleged racism in Buckingham Palace, etc., etc., unless they're doing that, people aren't interested. That was Spotify's view, that they're actually one-track monolithic people with nothing else to sell. And when you hear some of the ideas that they put up to Netflix to turn into dramas, I mean, you know, Harry saying, "Why?"
That was the podcast.
Yeah, well, but Harry, that was the Spotify where he said, "Why don't I interview the Pope and Vladimir Putin? I'll leave you to set it up." Didn't quite work out how that goes. No, Harry, we just gave you $20 million. You set it up. But there are Netflix ideas. I forget some of them, but my favourite is Emily in Paris only with a bloke.
Emile, rom-coms, that's the way to go.
Emile in Paris,
They're so easy, aren't they? I mean, look, they wouldn't be the first completely untalented people to make hay while the sun shines. We know, between us, Kev, we've had discussions. We know the people who we could apply the word grifter to.
Yes.
In these shores.
Hello. Hi, it's me. That's a joke. That's a joke. Well, I think it is. Anyway. I think it is anyway.
But you know, there are lots of people who love putting their name to a brand, to a product, and doing as little work as possible. I mean, look, we know people who haven't even read their ghost-written memoir, let alone written it, right? So we know that they are not alone in this category, but I think that they are being held to a higher bar because of where they came from, because they went with their sort of beating chest, saying that they were going to somehow square that circle between making pots and pots of money and being the world's greatest, most compassionate philanthropists. Now, only a few people, we could probably name them on the fingers of one hand, the likes of Bill Gates, and not even Jeff Bezos hasn't managed to do both. It really is a very, very small number of people who've managed to somehow make those two things happen in correlation. They haven't come near managing it. But, I mean, I do feel sorry in a way for Meghan, because you can tell the people she is trying to mould herself around. And we're talking the likes of Angelina Jolie, we're talking Amal Clooney, human rights lawyer and wife of George, Angelina, Oscar winner and UNHCR ambassador, tireless advocate for women's rights in war zones. We're talking about Beyonce, tireless advocate for Black female empowerment. All of these women are who Meghan Markle would like to be, but they've put something on the table to earn their status.
They've got their positions. Yeah, you're right.
She will have to work out that really perhaps the time needs to be spent in creating things rather than lapping up the awards and these Mickey Mouse statuettes that she's going out to claim, and that perhaps the joy is in the creation, because you, as she has discovered, you have no control over how things are received once they reach the wider public sphere.
Great stuff, Caroline. And let's remind ourselves that the royal couple have been nominated for an award from the Hollywood Critics Association, but they have not been nominated for a far more prestigious Emmy award, and apparently they're very miffed about that. So great to talk to you, Caroline. That was excellent. Caroline Frost, entertainment journalist there.